What is going on, you guys? This is Jonathan here. Welcome to Garage Denali. Happy New Year 2019. This is my first video for 2019. Hope that you guys have had a great holiday season, whether you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it is. Hope that you guys had a great holiday season. So with that, as you can see, I changed up the scenery a little bit here. I'm actually at the sports complex right here in South Philly, and I'm actually standing in at home plate here where Veterans Stadium used to be. So for those who are familiar with Philly or have been around Philly, I'm standing inside where the vet used to be. So yeah, thought I'd change up the scenery a bit for this video here. You can see Philly in the skyline in the background back there. I wanted to talk about my Crown Vic, give a little bit of an ownership review after a few months of having it, and then of course comparing that with the BMW that I've had. So essentially, this car I've had for like 7 months or so, and I wanted to give you a little comparison so far, a little bit of a report of ownership experience. So far, it's been pretty good. So far, I've had no problems with it. Part of that has to do with the fact that the previous owner has already done a lot of maintenance on this car before. So new transmission fluid, oil changes, front wheel hub assemblies, wheel bearings. He did the brakes, whether it was done by him or the police department that had it beforehand. So a lot of maintenance was done, fuel filter, things of that nature. So I don't really have to do a whole lot. The only big problem really that I have right now mechanically are the valve cover gaskets, which have to be done, which if you couldn't already tell, it is about 20 or so degrees outside here. So yes, I'm freezing just to make this video for you guys, but that will get done eventually. So I've just been putting it off because it's not, you know, absolutely necessary at this moment, but it will be done eventually. But essentially, what is this car like as far as maintenance? As far as the maintenance that I've had to do so far, it's been pretty good. You know, if you compare this with the BMW, for example, BMW, I had to do 2 thermostats in 1 year, in 1 calendar year. So of course, because the gasket and the thermostats were going bad for whatever reason, I guess they weren't made properly, I had to do that. So a thermostat for a BMW E46 328i that I had was $70, and luckily I got that from FCP Euro, so I got to take advantage of the lifetime warranty. But even more so, the fact that you had to go, the fact that you had to go in there and do all that was not necessarily something I was, you know, too happy about, but at least I got it done. Comparatively speaking, on this car, a thermostat is only $10 to $15. So if you can believe that, a Ford Motorcraft part on a car like this is only 10 to 15 bucks. So really, that's a huge discount. And then of course, I had to do the blower motor resistor on this. So essentially, what that meant was I had to change the resistor because I only had 1 fan speed, and that was in high. So because the resistor was not doing its job, these other 3 modes were not really working. So this was my only fan speed. So again, that part for a Crown Vic was only $14 or $15, whereas on the E46 that I had, that's a $138 part from BMW. Now, of course, most people say, oh, just buy the OEM part, don't buy OE, don't buy the original equipment, buy whatever suppliers they were. So even if you look at a Rhine final stage resistor, blower motor resistor, that's still like $50, $51. So again, of course you might be saying, well, obviously that's a BMW, this is a Ford, so of course the parts are going to be significantly more expensive on the BMW, but you know what? Sometimes it's nice. It's good to have a nice break from all the maintenance costs, and you know, a car like this is a rock solid car. You can drive it and it can take abuse. The Steelies, for example, if they get bent, like how in my case they are, I know the left 2 wheels are bent, so I'm going to replace those. These are like $50 or $60 a piece. Of course, I'm going to see if I can find some decent used ones and repaint them. I might buy new ones, but we'll see. But even then, a brand new Steely is still like $70, whereas a brand new alloy from BMW, if you go to the dealer, is like 600 bucks. But of course, if I were to buy it online or someplace that sells it, that's not the dealer, it'd still be like 300 some bucks. So even then, talk about discounts. But yeah, I mean, as far as reliability, again, it's pretty much apples to oranges. You can't really compare the two. I mean, this car is obviously a lot more reliable, but then again, it's not really as fun to drive. It's not a sports sedan, and that's pretty obvious. But again, you get in there and the car is it's just to get around. You know, like if you look here, for example, you see these huge gaps here. I can fit all 5 of my fingers in here, and especially under the headlight. And then you see this poor alignment here, and this is factory too. This is not because the headlight is aligned incorrectly or whatever. That's how this car came out of the factory. So you got to keep in mind, I mean, this here is because of my push bar, but even then, you know, if this was BMW, this would be completely unacceptable. But again, I thought I'd compare these cars because it's mid-90s Ford versus BMW. So just get this car unlocked here. But yeah, this car is cheap, and that can be good and bad. I mean, bad because you look at this door panel, it's just cheap plastic and it doesn't really have the nicest feel to it. But then again, the door panel comes off by removing like 3 or 4 little bolts, and that's about it. You know, you just pop this panel off with your bare hands and that's it. And that continues on through here, throughout the inside as well. This dashboard is pretty cheap. This trim piece here, although it's cheap, it comes off very easily, just like that. So if you needed to fix your climate control system or do a head unit upgrade, you can do that. And then of course this just snaps right back in, just like that. So cheap in both senses of the word. Of course the seats are not as comfortable. These are just generic bucket seats from Ford. They're a functional purpose. It's a very functional car, you know, and I guess you can say the BMW has spoiled me. You know, for example, the analog driving feel, the sports sedan pedigree from BMW M. You know, you got to pay a price for that. You know, I was going through tires relatively quicker than normal, and that's because of the spirited driving, but that's also because they were more performance-oriented tires. By 20,000 miles, I should have thought of replacing my front tires because they were already roaring. And you know, about half the tread was still on there, but still by 21,000 miles of use, they were already roaring when going down the highway. And I guess that's just the tire thing. It's not really related to the car, more or less. But yeah, I mean, for example, going from 10 speakers in the car down to just 4 in this car. I had a 500-watt sound system in the BMW. Now I'm going to 4 speakers and about 137 watts of audio. So somebody like me who's a huge audio junkie, that's something that I definitely miss. But you know what? I did the speaker upgrade in this car and it's really not too bad. So can't really complain. But yeah, other things are just the German engineering that I miss. Like, you know, like the glove box had a soft dampen, so it opened nice and gently. It doesn't just, you know, hang open like this thing. The trunk lock, for example, you could put the key in there and turn it, so essentially you can lock the trunk. So if you were valeting the car, nobody could get in there. It's little touches like that, you know, that you really appreciate. The rear view mirror, for example, was auto dimming, and so were the side mirrors, you know, on the car. That was nice, and they were also heated. This car doesn't really have that, you know. But I mean, again, it's comparing apples to oranges, and this car is a functional car. That car is more of a toy, so to speak. You know, it's not a complete toy, but it's more on that end of the spectrum. Now, there are Crown Victoria LX Sports, you know, the sport model of the LX, and honestly, it's a pretty nice looking car. You know, you got leather, you got a nice center console in here, you got the floor-mounted shifter, nice wheels, so that's really not a bad looking car. But again, you know, with this car, at least you got the beefier suspension. You know, the BMW had better brakes, better performance, better handling, but again, that required a lot more upkeep and it was a lot more expensive. This car, however, the Crown Vic, it's been pretty solid and it doesn't really need a whole lot. But again, it's not as performance oriented, and that's just the trade-off you have to make. But other than that, this car has been pretty solid. I haven't really had any problems with it, so essentially it's been a pretty solid car. Now, if I still had my BMW and, you know, I had the Crown Vic right here on the left and my BMW here on the right, which one would I choose to live with every day, you know, if money was not really an object? Me being the BMW enthusiast, I would choose the BMW, but I have had that car for 7 years. I said, you know what, let's change it up a little bit, see if you know, see if I can get something else interesting, something that I've wanted for a while, and the Crown Vic is definitely one of them. And of course, this car needs a little bit of attention, which it will be getting a few upgrades. A few changes are to come in the next few months, so stay tuned for that. But essentially, yeah, I just wanted to give you guys this little update video on the Crown Vic, do a little comparison, my ownership experience, 7 years of owning an E46 versus, you know, 7-8 months of owning the Crown Vic. So that's pretty much everything in a nutshell. So, you know, it's essentially going from paying to play, you know, talking about the German build quality, the fit and finish of everything, the luxury side of things, versus the just getting around, key in and go concept. And sometimes it's nice to have a car where you don't have a whole lot to worry about. You know, there's not a lot to break. The inside you can wipe down so easily. The BMW, I'd spend so much time on the interior detailing it. This car, you just don't really care, you know, and you can take care of it obviously, but you know, it's a more raw car. It's more of a vulgar car, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's my 2 cents, and so far I've been pretty happy with this car. So yeah, I just wanted to relay that to you, give you guys my 2 cents, let you know what my thoughts are, my opinions are on BMW versus Crown Victoria ownership. Let me know what you guys think. Just drop a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. If I do find a decent Crown Victoria LX Sport, I might pick that up, but you know, a BMW will be coming back to the channel eventually because that's, you know, my favorite brand of cars. I try to stay open, but inevitably that's, you know, the car that I kind of use as the benchmark for comparing everything else. But you know, that's just the car that I like the most, from styling, from performance, from, you know, it checks off the majority of the boxes. It's the best all-rounder in my opinion. So yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave any comments down below, any questions you may have. Please check out my Instagram page at Garage Denali. Thank you very much and take care.